All right, just recapping the ball game from Saturday night. Kind of want to reiterate a little bit what I said after the game as far as, I thought first half defense played really, really good football. Did a nice job on the sudden change of holding them to a field goal after the turnover on the first drive, and really played well the whole half. It was unfortunate. We missed a couple opportunities offensively, I think, in that first half that could have maybe changed some of the complexion of the game. Worthy on the post route there in the second quarter, and then obviously not taking advantage of the block punt. We get the ball in the plus 50 with an opportunity there before half to get points, and that didn't happen. It didn't happen. So inevitably you get in the locker room 7-3 against a quality opponent on the road. You feel good about where you're at. And, kind of a chain of events of three things really changed the whole game, and I think changed a little bit of the psyche for us. Obviously, the speed option hurt, and our inability to get the runner on the ground. Couple penalties offensively that push us back. We punt, they get the ball in the 50, and then they hit the double pass on the very next play. Those obviously were huge momentum shifters for them and for us. So, the reality of the whole situation was we didn't play the quality of football in the second half that I think we had been making incremental progress on. I think we've seen aspects of our team getting better, and improvement. I thought tackling had improved. I thought the line of scrimmage had improved. Some things had been showing up for us that was really positive, and even in the first half of the game. But in the second half, we lost that momentum and we lost that incremental progress that we had been making. Missed tackles started to rear their ugly head again. We started to lose at the line of scrimmage again, and ultimately some of that was a byproduct of our inefficiency to throw the ball. So we've got to get back to building the belief that we know we had been building and that the players had been building, because I think it's a dangerous strategy to play with hope. Hope doesn't work. You can't hope the guy next to me does his job. You can't hope that I'm going to make my play. You can't hope that the scheme's going to work. You have to have belief in the scheme, and then you get some success through your belief, and then ultimately that's how you gain confidence, and that's the priority for us this week. And so, like I said after the game, we don't have any time to be down on our luck or to feel sorry for ourselves. We've got to get back to work. We've got to create our own breaks, and the only way I know how to do that is to be demanding of what is expected. Not demeaning of players, but be demanding of what's expected of them, so that ultimately we can make the progress and get the results we're looking for down the road.
Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get a mic to you. Start right down front, Dennis.
Coach, from the outside, it's real easy to fixate on the negative, but from your perspective, what do you see when it comes to player development, team leadership? What gives you optimism moving forward?
Yeah, I like the development of our players. I think when you really break down individual players, you see the growth in a lot of our guys. Some guys may be further ahead than others. Some guys maybe have been making bigger strides than others. I look at Brandon Schooler, for example, where early in the year he kind of came out and was playing really well, hit a little bit of a lull, and now his game has come back, and I thought he played really well the other night. And I look at Alfred Collins, a guy who really was a little bit down on the depth chart at the beginning of the year, and now is an integral part to what we're doing. He's starting. He's playing good football. I look at Tope Amata. Here's a 6-year player that we continue to develop, and now he's playing and playing pretty good football for us on that front. So I think we're seeing that at a lot of different spots. Obviously, we never want to settle. We're always striving for more. We never want to settle for a ceiling, and I think we're seeing that. From a leadership standpoint, the one thing that I'm encouraged by, we have a lot of players, trying to do the necessary things for themselves, for what is needed of the team. I think ultimately, when teams really get to that point to where they're really good teams, and they're not only in their play but in their culture, players start to hold players accountable for what's acceptable and what's not. Clearly, as coaches, we're holding the players accountable. I think the players are recognizing who's doing things the right way and who may be trying to cut some corners. That's when they step in and they start holding each other accountable, that's when we got something special. I think we're getting closer to that. We're just not exactly where we need to be yet.
Over here on your left,
Steve, do you have any injury updates for Bijan and the others?
Yeah, so we've got DeMarvion, Bijan, Alfred. I may be leaving a couple guys out. We were kind of nicked up there Saturday night. None of them are significant, which is positive. I think every guy is day to day, so we're going to monitor them closely. I think we made some good progress with our rehab yesterday and this morning. So we'll just have to work our way and navigate ourselves through the week to see where we're at.
And then with Bijan, he doesn't fumble rarely ever. When you guys look back on his two on Saturday, were those just fluke plays, or was there something concerning about those
Well,
plays?
I think the first one was tough. The guy, Bijan, is an ultimate competitor. He's fighting for extra yards, and, he refused to go down. He had two hands on the ball. He had it wrapped tight, but ultimately, when they got 10 guys around you and they're all yanking at the ball, that sometimes they can get hard if they get a good grip and get it out. So we're just trying to teach him the effort, the competitiveness is there. Sometimes you got to be wise and cut your losses and get down at that point. But it wasn't about a technique, or it wasn't about an effort. They ended up ripping the ball out right before he went to the ground. The second one, same idea, really, a little different. He kind of pinballed himself off of 2 or 3 guys right there. He had good pad level. It looks like the ball's high and tight. Sometimes that happens, but clearly that's a point of emphasis of ours as a program. The ball is paramount to our success, and we can't afford the 2 turnovers, especially in a game like that against a team like that. So the emphasis is still going to be there. We're going to have a game where we don't turn the ball over, and that's going to be one of the better days in the program since I've been here when that happens.
Coach, 2 quick ones. Actually, one quick one and then a follow. Who's currently your starting quarterback?
We're going to evaluate it this week. Obviously, Casey has been starting here for the past, I guess it would be 6 or 7 games. Obviously, we made the move in game. We need to evaluate that this week, and there's plenty of things to evaluate. We got to assess Casey's thumb to see where that's at. I think that did have a bit of an impact on him in the ball game. We got to assess just kind of how it flows this week throughout the week. So, we'll address that later in the week. I'll have an answer for you guys. I guess it would be Thursday of what we're going to do there.
And then why do you think then, Coach, that I think it's, Casey started off so hot, his first few games, it kind of tapered off a little bit. What can you see from your evaluation of the quarterback position, both him and Hudson?
Yeah. I think, one, played some pretty good defenses probably in the last 3 weeks. I got to give those guys credit, whether it was Oklahoma State, Baylor, Iowa State, 3 pretty quality teams. But I think we haven't been efficient enough at getting the completions that we don't have to work as hard for. Part of that is on the quarterback. Part of that is on the receivers and the consistency, and part of that's on me and making sure that I'm calling enough of those things to get some rhythm to what we're doing in the passing game. So, it's easy to point to the guy that throws it, and we have plenty of work to do there. But I think, I have a responsibility to help them get to that point, not only fundamentally and understand the game plan, but also what we call. And then there's a responsibility from the receiver standpoint to being where you're supposed to be on time, and then ultimately making plays on the ball. We've had a couple of games where the ball's hit the ground, not because of the quarterback's issue. So that's a point of emphasis. The passing game, if you want to be a complementary team, if you want to be a balanced offense like we want, we've got to find that consistency in the passing game, and it'll be a big point of emphasis for us this week.
Coach, for 4 weeks you've had the second half snafus, not good in the second half. Are you going to change anything this week? What can you do to try to change things in the second half? And I know it's got to be befuddling you. It befuddles everybody what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm be remiss without saying, I'm as frustrated as anybody, because I know what we're capable of. If we didn't play really well in the first half or even in the third quarters of the game, then it'd be like, man, we got to fix a lot. But, for whatever reason, we get into the ball game and we go from really good belief, really good confidence, really good success to, hey, things happen in game. Football's, like I said, a lot like life, and some things can happen, bumps in the road, adverse situations. And that's to me where that belief can't shift to hope. And I think we're shifting some to hope, like, man, I hope I can make this play, or I hope he does his job, or I hope this call works. And we can't think that way. We have to think very confidently. We have to believe in what we're doing. But ultimately, schematically for me, I think more so than anything is we have to remain aggressive and we have to stay attack oriented. And, you know, I assess a lot in our program, every aspect of it. This is another one of those aspects of how can I help that situation? What can I do personally first before I start looking at somebody else and what they can do or how they can do it? So I think for me, one is we have to remain aggressive. We have to call the things that ultimately put our players in the best position to have success. And we can't do it in a passive manner where we're trying to protect our players. We have to believe in them as much as we want them to believe in what we're trying to get done. So that's really philosophically the approach, and then we'll do the things necessary to get us to that point.
When you're in a bit of a tailspin like this, what do you find that works with your players to keep them all connected? And because it's year one, how much of is the challenge of continuing to get guys to buy in even though it's not working right now?
Well, I think that the one thing that I talked to the players about pretty extensively this morning is getting the players to hear the same message consistently, that our job as coaches, my job as the head coach, is to hold our players accountable so that I can put them in the best position so that they can be the best player they can be, so they can be the best teammate they can be, so that they can be the best person that they can be. And I don't want our players to misconstrue us being, you know, demanding or having constructive criticism as a personal attack. It is, we're trying to do what we can to support them, to put them in the best position to have success in whatever one of those three areas. And accountability is great when you have it from coach to player, player to coach, player to player, coach to coach. And like I said, you know, the one thing that we're really trying to work on in our locker room is player to player. And that's when the leadership is really going to step up. And so, but the biggest key to it all is making sure that our guys understand what we're here for and why we're here with them. And, you know, I think the other side of it is, you know, there's a life of a competitor here, right? You know, we chose to play college football. We chose to coach at the University of Texas. All of our players chose to come to the University of Texas and play football here. We chose this arena. We chose to be in this environment so that we can be part of the group that makes Texas football special again. So we have to recognize the arena that we're in, embrace the arena, and then we got to charge forward and go for it. And I think that's part of the other message we're trying to get across to the guys.
Over here on your left, Chip.
Steve, do you do anything differently in practice this week? Do you approach practice any differently? And what is Josh Moore's status with the team?
You know, I think that the one thing we're doing differently is, we obviously came out of that game Saturday night a little nicked up. You know, we had plenty of guys that either limped off, had to get helped off, and different things. So today was more about really teaching really well, more of a walkthrough format and making sure that we're assignment sound against a Kansas team that is an option-based offense. So it's a little bit different than what we've seen. So we needed to take some time to do that. You know, I don't know if it's official yet, but the plan for Josh is to go into the portal. And that's, you know, that's his option or his opportunity to do that. That's what college football provides. And we wish him the best of luck.
In the middle, Brian.
So real quick, is that to say he's no longer with the team?
That's, yeah.
Just double checking that. Everything about your job is managing perceptions, managing expectations, things like that.
That's your opinion, not mine.
Understand. Well,
Okay.
Well, okay. With 3 games left, what is how imperative is it that you guys finish with a record that gets you to a bowl game and gets you to the postseason?
Yeah, I think my job is to inspire, coach, develop young men to become great football players and become a great team. How that's perceived, that's for somebody else's thought, right? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. However they view it is up to somebody else. My job is to inspire the young men in our locker room, to lead the young men in our locker room, to coach the young men in our locker room, to be the best of their ability, to be the best that they can be. Now, to finish this season off the way we want to me, that is inspiring to them. When they can have some success with their belief, that's how they'll continue to gain confidence and continue to grow. That's how I view this, and I recognize the fans and people that are upset of the outcome. And I've said this before, nobody's more upset than we are, right? But I can't worry about the perception of what it looks like. I have to worry about the 115 young men that I have to face every day, that they feel inspired and they feel led by me, that we're heading in the right direction.
On your left, Cedric.
Hey, Steve, 2 questions. Number one, do you have a sergeant at arms in that locker room? Do you have a guy in there that's getting after? I mean, we talk to these guys. They're a bunch of nice guys. Do you have a-hole in there that's willing to be unpopular to get, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
no,
You've
I'm
been
with
winning
you.
locker
I get
rooms.
it. I get it. You know, the guy who probably is the most that way is Roshan Johnson. And I really appreciate that about him, because when you're not the frontline starter, people would assume, well, I'm not in the position to do that. And Roshan really assumes that role. He's demanding, and you see it in his play. I mean, he plays extremely hard. His incredible effect on the game on special teams. And so I think that aspect would probably lie on him in his approach and how he goes about it.
And then the other one is, what's your message to your fan base? I know you're frustrated, but so are they.
Yeah, I think from a fan base perspective, I use this analogy some. Whenever you ever buy a classic car, a used classic car, it's easy to put a new paint job on it and make it look like, we restored it and it looks great. We're under the hood, man. We're under the hood, and we're fixing the engine. We're working on the interior. And when this thing's done, we'll put the nice fresh coat of paint on it. But we're under the hood right now, working on a lot of things that we think need to get worked on, whether it's schematically, whether it's culturally, whether it's individual players, development. And ultimately, the car is going to look shiny and good. And we just got to trust this process that we're going through. Nobody likes where we're at. I get it. Shoot, I wish we were undefeated right now, too. And outside of a couple games, we probably could have a really good record compared to where we're at. But that's the progress that we're in. That's where we're at. But I do think there is incremental progress that is occurring. It's unfortunate what happened in the second half the other night, but there was a lot of good early on in that game that we can build from.
On your right, Joe.
Kind of along the lines of what Cedric asked. When we spoke with Keandre after the game, I asked him if anybody had stood up and said anything, and he said basically people were in their emotions and not really wanting to say anything. Over these past couple days, has any player, whether it be him, Rashawn, stepped up and after being silent in the locker room last week, started getting guys' faces, kind of like you mentioned?
I don't know if they were silent. I think that I think we've got a very respectful group. I think they trust the coaches and the direction that we're giving them. It was an emotional locker room. I mean, and there's guys that are upset about the outcome, right? And we're just trying to make sure that the guys are doing the necessary work so that we can change the outcome. And you can get outcome oriented, but if your process is a little screwed up, you're never going to get the outcome that you're looking for. So we're working on the process. I think it's hard for guys to speak up and be that way when ultimately, deep down, maybe you're not doing the necessary things to earn that opportunity to do that. Because there's nothing worse than having the guy that's going to call somebody out when the guy you're calling out looks at you and says, well, that's great, but you didn't do X, Y, or Z. So I think that there's a fine line there. But I think we're working closer towards more guys having the forum to have the ability to do that.
Coach, a Kansas team's coming in. What do you show to your guys, and how do you prevent Kansas is struggling, the assumption this is when we get well and move on and make sure they're just as locked in as any other game?
Turn on the Kansas OU game. It doesn't take very long. They probably should have won that football game. They played extremely well. Clearly they were up for the game. They played great defense in the first half. The offense controlled the ball. They ran the ball extremely well. Had an opportunity to win the game late if it weren't for a pretty heroic play by the quarterback taking the ball on 4th down. So it didn't take long. Once you turn that tape on, they get it. We got to come to play Saturday.
On your left, Bert.
Yeah, Steve, you've said you've got plenty of talent on this team to win, I guess. It sounds like kind of an indictment on the coaching staff. So I was curious about the talent. How many elite players do you feel like you have, and do you have some playing at an all-conference level?
Well, I don't know to put an exact figure on it. Like I said, I think we're good enough. Clearly we haven't gotten the result that we're looking for. And to your point, it is on us. You know, our job is to motivate. Our job is to put players in position to perform. And when that doesn't happen, especially at some of the critical moments at some tough games, you know, we have to look ourselves in the mirror too. And that starts with me, and that goes to every coach on our staff of what we can do to get the most out of our players to perform to the best of their ability. I don't vote on that. I don't know. Yeah, I think we got some pretty good players on our team that have had good seasons so far, and we still got 3 games to go.
On your right, last one, Terry.
Coach Sarkisian, again, thank you for letting us spend some time with you. So right now, you and the team is getting their lunch eaten in the metaverse now, as it's called, right? How do you coach the players to avoid that? It's almost disrespectful in a way, but it is what it is. As evident by likely Kansas, DKR will be packed. That's respect for the team, coming in, showing up, and supporting the team. How do you coach that don't listen to this, listen to this? Or
I'm a realist with our guys and a realist of society, right? I've said this early on. I think we were talking on a subject about mental health, right? And social media in this day and age has totally changed the experience for athletes in general, but most notably for us, our football players, in their life as a player. And, you know, historically, college athletes, they play a game, they may get cheered, they may get booed, you know, they walk out of the locker room, they hug their family. We get in the team meeting room, we tell them what we did right, what we did wrong, and how we're going to fix it. They may read a newspaper article, they may turn on the evening news or Sports Center to see it. Well, social media has changed that experience for the athlete now. Now it's instantaneous. And not only do they have to go, you know, look at somebody else's tweet, a lot of what our guys get are direct messages directly attacking them and or us, you know, right in their lap. But what I remind our players is we choose to be in that arena. If you have an Instagram account, a Twitter account, a Facebook, a Snapchat, now you're choosing to be in that arena of you're subject to criticism. The same way when you do well and you want to post a video of yourself making a great catch or a great tackle or whatever that is, you're going into that arena to catch the praise and the notoriety and all the likes and the different things of that nature. So they need to understand once you choose to get in that arena, now you're subject to that criticism, whether it is, you know, it's worthy of it or not. The point is they still have a choice to read that and or not. And, you know, there's a famous quote, you guys can probably, you know, figure it out, but the man in the arena is real. That's a real quote. And, you know, we're in the arena, and we're not here to criticize anybody else. We're here to do our job to the best of our ability. And if we get criticized, we just need to recognize we appreciate what we get to do through the blood, sweat, and tears, and ultimately the triumphs, because that's the life of a competitor, and that's what we chose to do.